Hi, and thank you so much for joining me in today's video. I'm finally in that place where I'm ready to start offering tarot and oracle readings one-on-one once again. So if you're one of my regular viewers, welcome back. I'm sure you've been waiting for this day because I've been kind of dropping hints over the past year that I've been building myself back up towards offering this kind of spiritual psychic service once again. If you're a newbie, welcome to my channel. I'm so happy to have you here with us. Nice to meet you. Say hi in the comment section so I know who I'm talking to. Anyhow, it's been quite a journey for me to discover the joy of reading tarot cards, which is a meditative process and an eye-opening process. It's something to me very profound psychologically as well as mystically and spiritually. And even when I'm reading for someone else, I get solutions to problems I'm facing in my life and kind of clicks about how different energies interact with each other. So, as I mentioned in my last reading video, I will be offering one-on-one readings online, and these can take the format of either a video made just for you, where I give a reading just like in my reading videos, which I'll be demonstrating a little bit later on in today's video, so stay tuned for that. They can either take the format of a video made exclusively for you, in which I'll send you the private link, and it's only for you to watch unless you choose to share that link with others so they can see it too. It's kind of yours to do with as you will. Or it can take the format of a Zoom reading, where we'll meet on a Zoom call and I'll read your cards live. So totally your choice. The site that I'm going to do these readings through is called Wizio. You may have heard of it. I've seen some of the YouTubers who I follow have Wizio pages where they'll make videos for their followers, and it's pretty cool. I'm very grateful to the Wizio team for reaching out to me and offering this opportunity. It was kind of that push that I needed externally in order to, kind of feel internally like the time is right and that it really is the next step in my life's journey to start doing readings once again. So if you are new to my channel and you're not familiar with my path or with my story, I'm not going to spout off my whole autobiography right now. That would be way too long and pretty much irrelevant for you, but just the general gist is that I started reading tarot cards when I was 18 years old. And at the time, I considered myself to be agnostic but verging on atheist. I'd only really experienced Western religion, Christianity, Catholicism, Mormonism. I'm from Alberta, so lots of Mormons around here. And my take on religion was that it was oppressive. I had friends who were gay, who were in the closet, afraid to come out because they knew they would be shunned, and that really sucked. And I myself went vegan when I was 13 years old, and I had everyone from the priest to my Catholic school teachers tell me that God put animals on the planet to kill them and eat them. So you can imagine how I felt about that God. Anyhow, I kind of turned atheist as a kid when my teachers were painting this picture of a vengeful, vindictive, angry, animal sacrifice demanding God. But my perception of spirituality started to shift in my teen years, starting with a vision of the goddess Kali, who is the divine mother in the most ferocious form. She's the one who destroys demons, who basically clears the earth of the negative entities and energies that attack humanity, try to separate us from our divine realizations. So when I saw that vision of Kali, it came to me so powerfully, so suddenly, so out of the blue, well, out of the darkness, that there's no way I could have imagined it or created it within myself. I'll tell that whole story in another video. Maybe I'll make a whole special video about Mahakali and who she is to me and why I still consider her my Ishta Devata. But anyhow, after that vision, I could no longer call myself an atheist. I thought of myself as an agnostic, which is, I know there's a higher power. I know there's a spiritual reality. I just don't know what it is, what to call it, or what my role is in it. And you know what? That's still kind of how I feel to this day, because I've had so many various spiritual experiences, each completely different, and yet each one so pivotal in shaping my perception of existence that to limit myself by one definition of spiritual, like to call myself just Hindu, would kind of do a disservice to all the experiences I've had with extraterrestrials. To call myself just a starseed would kind of take away from my Vedic roots or my connections to angels or to other kinds of guides. And this might all sound like airy-fairy mystical mumbo-jumbo to a bunch of you, but for those who are similarly called to a spiritual path, who recognize that there is an element of truth in all different facets of spiritual exploration in this world, I'm sure you feel a kindred spirit as I'm sharing this. So what I want to share first and foremost about tarot is that you don't have to have a specific religious belief or spiritual clarity in order to have the cards reveal a message for you. When I read the cards, I'm not reading them as an Arcturian starseed or as a Hindu devotee or as this or as that. When I read the cards, what I do is I connect to existence in the undefined form and request that whatever messages come through in a space of love and service for the highest good of whoever is hearing the message. That's kind of like the affirmation or the statement that I make at the beginning of the reading. Now, for me personally, when I connect with existence, I imagine that the source answering me includes all of the above, every divine being with whom I've felt a connection throughout my life, everyone who I think of as being like on my team, and who you have on your team might be different. But the nice thing is these are not competitive teams trying to take each other out and dominate. These are like cooperative, loving, co-creative teams, each looking out to ensure that while we are alive in human bodies on Earth, we are experiencing the best of everything for ourselves. We're learning our lessons, we're contributing to society, we're having the best love experiences that we can have, we're inspired, we're creative. We are not sent down here to Earth in order to struggle, suffer, get frustrated, and die. It's my very passionate belief that we are here alive on Earth to express ourselves, to explore ourselves, to discover what it is to hold a unique identity while interacting with a society who, as a whole, wants to see us kind of conform and follow the path that's already been blazed. I think of us as here to be trailblazers, to blaze a new path for ourselves because each and every one of us is unique. We are each a different color being woven into this tapestry of humanity. And for me, reading tarot cards is just one tool of many, many, many in this world to help us explore the uniqueness of who we are, to find out what it is that we're here to contribute and how it is that we're meant to express ourselves. When I feel a blockage or when I feel held back in some way, I like to turn to the cards to pinpoint and identify the cause of that blockage. You know, what's going wrong? Where's my energy stuck? What do I need to do to rebalance it? And similarly, when I do a reading for you, I request your higher guidance, your team, your Ishtadevata, your angels, your spirit guides, your ancestors, whatever word you want to put to it. I request those who are energetically looking out for your highest good to reveal to me through the cards what it is that you're meant to hear when you're meant to hear it. And so, with that said, when I do a group reading in a YouTube video like this one, and you choose one of three paths, one of three piles of cards from which to receive your message, understand that these group readings will be a little bit more generalized. If, say, 500 people watch the video, and 100 choose pile 1, and 100 choose pile 2, and 300 choose pile 3, not every single one of those 100 people will resonate with the same exact identical message. And so for that reason, you'll hear me say, for some of you, this card represents blah, blah, blah. And for somebody else, I'm feeling the messages blah, blah, blah. Pardon my blah, blah, blahs, but you know what I mean, as an example. When I give this kind of a generalized reading, it's important to also tap in with your intuition and take the messages that resonate as being meant for you. And you'll know what those messages are. When you think, wow, you know what? This exactly speaks to a question I've had on my mind. Or I've been wondering what to do about this, and now I feel this is what I needed to hear. Those are the ones that resonate with you. If I say something in this kind of a group reading and you think, well, that doesn't make any sense to me in my life, don't worry, that just means it was meant for somebody else who chose that particular pile of cards. Now, with that little disclaimer out of the way, I think it is really, really awesome, and I am so grateful to those of you who watched my last video and gave me some feedback. I've heard from a few that exactly what was revealed in the card pile that they chose was exactly relevant to their life situation at that time, that it made perfect sense, that they knew exactly how it fit in with what they were wondering about. And I just think that is so cool, because my last tarot reading video was actually the very first time I have ever read cards on YouTube. You know, prior to that, I have only ever read the cards either by myself, for myself, or professionally for a client in a private one-on-one situation where it wasn't getting filmed. So that was pretty cool. I'm so grateful for your feedback. Similarly, I request of you, at the end of your reading in today's video, please do leave me some feedback in the comment section below. Let me know how it related for you, and you know, whether you enjoyed it or didn't enjoy it, and why. I am constantly evolving, just as all of us are. So, you know, your pointers, your tips, your feedback, what you liked, what you didn't like, that will really help me going forward as I start to do more regular reading videos like this one. So before I get into the reading, the last thing I want to say is check the link in the video description box below to find my Wizio page. I have called it Sarah's Oracle Space. And yes, I had to cheat and look at my laptop to remember what I called the thing, because it's so new to me. I just want to describe a little bit about the separate readings I have available there, and then we'll get into today's readings. So the first reading available is called a crystal consultation. That one is less reliant on cards and more reliant on my years of experience working with crystal and gemstone healing. The way that one works, you just have to let me know a little bit about what you want to achieve in life, maybe what you're struggling with, what goals you've set for yourself, what you want. Just tell me what you want, and I will let you know which crystal allies and gemstones can be worked with for, you know, the best solution to the problem, or as the greatest talisman to achieve the goal that you've set. That's less a reading and more, like it's called, a crystal consultation. The next one, which I will be demonstrating in this video, is the Life Path Energies Oracle reading. So the Life Path Energies refer to the unique energetic blueprint each of us has, basically as our talents, what we have in life that serve us, and how we can tap into these elemental energies in order to achieve the unique goal that we have. Now, in a private reading, so in the reading that you can get on my Wizio page, what I do is I look at the energies in your outer world as well as the energies in your inner world, in your past, your present, and your future. So that's 6 cards in total, past, present, and future, outer world and inner world. And what that tells us is, for example, in your earliest childhood, which energies were brought in with you in order to be who you are, to express yourself as you are. You'll sometimes hear people saying that they feel out of their element. What does it mean to be in your element? What is your element? That's what the Life Path Energies reading will reveal. I'm not going to talk too much about it now because you'll see in the example. Today's sample reading will look at just 3 cards. It's going to be a little more generic, like I said, than a personal reading, but we are going to go into childhood, present moment, and future, so you can kind of get the gist of what that reading is all about. Next is the Outer World Identity reading. So while the Life Path Energy reading has to do with the spiritual gifts you've brought into this life, what you're meant to reveal to the world, what you're meant to contribute to this world energetically, the Outer World Identity reading is more about your career path, your family dynamics, your relationships, your friendships. It's more about who you are in the eyes of others around you, what you bring to your circle. And this is a great reading, for example, if you've had any kind of difficulties with communication with the people at work, or if you've had relationships fail and you don't know why, you don't know what could have been or should have been done differently. Although I do believe if it didn't work, it wasn't meant to. You didn't do anything wrong. But this reading kind of reveals how other people see you and why they see you that way, how you present yourself to the world, and if it's all perfectly well and in balance, it shows the future that you're moving into if you continue on this path you've set for yourself. However, when we look at the cards of the future, if an obstacle is present, or if it looks like you're heading in a direction you may prefer to avoid, nothing is set in stone. You have complete free will. You can always change gears and reinvent yourself. And in any reading, if there's something just kind of calling out for reinvention, if there's something stuck, if there's something negative, if there's something not enjoyable, we will always pull more cards to find out how to rectify that lack of balance. So the Outer World Identity card reading is more tarot based, whereas the Life Path Energies reading is more oracle based. Then I also offer a full 1 hour reading where we look at both. First at the energy blueprint brought into this life, and then more at the personal expression and interpersonal relationships. So it's like, what are your energies and elements, and then what do you do with them? One is more mystical, the other is more practical. In the 1 hour reading, we combine both. So first the mystical stuff, then the practical stuff, and then in the remaining half of the reading, the second half hour, it's all for Q&A. We can go into specific questions or we can go into generic questions. It's your reading, so it's up to you. And you know what? In my experience reading one-on-one in the past, customers have sometimes felt like they didn't want to say their question out loud, like maybe they didn't want to jinx it or they were a little embarrassed to talk about it, and that's perfectly okay too. You don't even have to tell me what your question is. Just let me know whether it's a question that would have a yes or no answer, or if it's a question that would have a more in-depth analysis answer. Like, is it a yes or no question? Is it a what question? Is it a why question? And from there, I'll know how many cards to pull and in what way to read them to give you that clarity. The last kind of reading I offer is the Mystic Visions and Dream Interpretations reading. That's a new one for me. I've never done this type before. The others I've been doing for years. This one is my newest offering. I kind of felt like if I'm starting back into this, I have to start back in with something that I've never done before, because it's all about expansion and forward motion and updating instead of just redoing. So in this particular reading, you can let me know what dreams you've had, if it's a repeat dream, if it's a new kind of a dream, or if you've had a vision or an intuition about something, but you're not quite sure what it means. Like, why do I have this feeling about this and this and this? Or why do I keep having dreams about that and that and that? The deck I'll be working with for this particular reading is the Dreams of Gaia Tarot. It's my newest deck. I'm so happy with it. I bought it about a week ago, and I've been reading my own cards in it ever since. And it's so beautiful and so symbolic that I feel the energy will be very, very conducive towards the realm of dreams and visions. So while this is again kind of mystical, like the Life Path Energies reading, it's a little bit different from that in that we're not looking at the blueprint of which energies you brought into this life with you. We're looking more at the specific messages existence has for you that can come in the form of dreams and intuitions. So with that said, let's get into today's reading demos. I'm going to end this particular video and start a new video where you can see my tarot table, you can choose your pile, and find out which elemental energies you've brought into this lifetime with you. It won't be the full reading, it's going to be a sample reading, but I hope you love it as much as I love revealing it. See you in a second. All right, here we are at the tarot table, and I've set out pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. So take a moment to connect with these energies, decide which pile is the pile for you, and then check out the description box below for timestamp links that will take you to your particular reading. All right, pile 1, hello and welcome to your Life Path Energies sample reading. In this reading, we're going to work with the Crystal Ally Cards Evolutionary Edition deck in order to look at the general energies you brought into your lifetime and how that's working out for you. I'm just going to play a little bit of Singing Bowl to set the tone in this room. And while I do that, I'm calling on your team, your higher guidance, existence, those in the love and light vibration, to ensure that whatever messages come through in a space of truth, clarity, and love to serve your highest good. All right. So before I look at the cards, the crystal that I chose for pile 1 is this beautiful natural smoky quartz cluster. And whenever we look at a cluster of crystals, pardon the cat hair, that's not meant to be part of it, but kind of goes everywhere in my apartment. A crystal cluster is different than a typical crystal in that it combines the energy of multiple individuals. And so crystal clusters represent teamwork, society, group energy. Instead of a solo artist, it's like the crystal of a band. And when you choose a cluster as your personal talisman crystal, at least at this moment in your life, it's time to be thinking about your group energies, the people who are around you, the places where you spend most of your time, what kind of group dynamic is going on there. So that's what a cluster represents. Then the smoky quartz specifically represents grounding, being firm-footed and able to achieve what needs to be achieved in the physical world. It's a card of, not a card, it's a stone of the earth element. And by choosing that, it shows that this really is a time for you to be focused on your physical comforts. You know, make sure you're eating well, make sure you're getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, grounding your energy, being here now. With that said, as I first started to shuffle, one card jumped out, and that card is like a bonus in your reading. I'm not going to consider that your past, present, or future card. We're going to consider this kind of like an urgent message card. And it's the card of power represented by the stone Vanadinite. And it kind of flipped over in a reverse position. So in the power card, you see this warrior of light kind of battling and using the energy within her as her strength. When that card is reversed, it symbolizes feeling out of your power, feeling overwhelmed by the external factors in life and like you don't have enough strength or courage or energy within you to overcome the bombardment that you're facing from the outer world. When the power card is reversed, it really shows that you feel like you're lacking in the power that you need in order to live your best life. When this card pops out as an urgent message, it's reminding you that the power you need to achieve your goals is not something that comes from the outside. It's something that's within you, untapped. So if you see the fire in her belly, that bright light emanating from her sacral chakra, her power center, her inner self-drive center, and also in both of her hands, her left hand and her right hand, what it represents is that she's drawing on her inner strength in order to be that powerful warrior that she is. So whether you're battling against yourself, against an addiction, against a struggle, against procrastination, against difficulties that you face in any facet of life, against a disease or an illness, or whether there's an actual power struggle, whether somebody is trying to usurp your place at work, or somebody's constantly picking arguments and fights with you and you just feel like you don't have the energy to take it anymore. This card is showing you that you are the energy to take it. You are not only the energy to take it, you're the energy to transmute it. Now, in this love and light vibration, there is no conflict as far as physical combat with your enemies. What this represents is being so powerfully secure in who you are that nothing anybody else says to you can shake your understanding of you. Being this fierce, ferocious warrior, princess, or prince, we're reading energies, not genders. So whether you're in a male body, a female body, or whether you don't identify as a binary gender, that's irrelevant here. What it's showing is this warrior goddess power. Goddess meaning the divine feminine energy in the expression of care, nurturing, and maternity. It's reminding you to nurture yourself, care for yourself, be proud of yourself. If the world beats you down 100 times, get up again 101. If somebody tells you that you're weak, stand up and declare your power. You are that power. So I'll set that card aside and look at your present, past, and future energies. What's interesting here is that both the past and present energies are in a reverse position, and that kind of helps me understand the power card reversed as your urgent message card. When the life energies you bring in are reversed, what it shows is an untapped energy. It's like having a huge inheritance, but it's been held in a trust fund and you haven't had access to it yet because you haven't yet come of age. Especially looking back to your early childhood. The card is an storm energy card, which is the most spiritual of the 5 elements. this deck is broken down into the 5 elemental energies of earth, air, fire, water, and storm, which represents the etheric energy of spirit. So your energies, before I go any further, are storm energy and air energy. Storm energy representing powerful spiritual drive, and air energy representing vocal expression and intellectual understanding. So when you are in your element, that's when there's an energy shift happening. For example, standing at the window watching a thunderstorm roll in, and instead of being scared, you're enjoying the show. It's exciting for you. When a big gust of wind blows and you feel yourself renewed, like that wind is blowing through you and clearing you, that's your element. The ideal meditation for you to get into your energy, to be in your element, is any type of pranayama or breathwork meditation. So when you breathe deeply, when you inhale slowly and deeply, like take a breath and breathe in for as long as you can. Hold your breath. Exhale slowly. Feel that air circulating within you. That's totally your element. We can't always conjure a thunderstorm when we want one, but we can always tune into this air element. So let me digress. Let me get back to what I was saying. We'll start with the present moment because that's where we are. We are here now. Your present moment energy is one of the most powerful. It's the energy of Moldavite. What's really cool here is that pile 2 was symbolized by a piece of Moldavite. Your symbol was, or the symbol you chose, was that Smoky quartz cluster. But what this card is showing is that Moldavite is one of your crystal allies. It is an energy that you're drawing on. The card of transformation represents moving not only from one stage of life into another, but from one energetic expression into another. It's really about coming into your power. Again, that's why I'm saying I can see what this card meant now even more strongly. The power of Moldavite is the power of letting go of everything that has been holding you back. Some people actually fear working with Moldavite because they've heard stories of somebody getting a piece and suddenly they lose their job, their relationship comes to an end, their business goes bankrupt, they get evicted from their place, something major and drastic shifts in a way that's out of their control. The reason these things happen, especially in an escalated manner when we start working with the energy of Moldavite, is that Moldavite radiates with such a high frequency that it has no tolerance for anything that's out of resonance, anything that's not serving the highest good of those who are working with it. And so when we see the Moldavite card in its reversed capacity, as we see it here, what that shows is that you are in a place right now, as you're hearing this message, when you are meant to transmute the negative things going on in your life and bring yourself into a more harmonious capacity of existence. When Moldavite's energy is reversed, it's kind of like a fear of the unknown is stopping you from experiencing your best self. If you're in a dead-end job and it's not fun for you anymore, it's not exciting, you don't feel challenged, you're not earning as much as you want, your creativity isn't getting to express as much as you'd like it to, you're not being taken seriously. The Moldavite card reversed shows kind of sticking with that job that you don't like, that's not serving you, because a bad job is better than no job. And so it's kind of like being caught in a phase of life that you've already outgrown, but you haven't yet manifested the outer world support system to move forward. It's like If you're in a codependent relationship and you know that your energy and the energy of your partner are at odds with each other, you don't have the same goals that you're moving towards, you don't want to do the same things at the same time, you irritate the hell out of each other, but you've co-signed a lease for a place, so you literally can't move away from them. It's that kind of an energy. So when Moldavite appears in a reversed position, the key words that pop into my head when I think about this, and I've been there, so I can totally relate with this pile 1 energy. I've been there in my life multiple times. The one thing I can tell you from my experience is that you can shift. You can get out of it. There's no such thing as being stuck forever. By nature of the fact that you are alive and you are listening to these words right now, that is existence telling you, don't worry, you've got this. There's no contract signed that a good legal mind can't find a way out of. If you've co-leased a place, you can break that lease. You understand what I'm saying? If you're not feeling supported at work, you can shift that energy. If you choose to keep that job, you can talk to the boss and explain what you need and what you want at this point in time to feel creatively empowered there, to feel like you're being that warrior princess, warrior prince self that you are. Or if you choose to venture out on your own and start something totally new, start a business, start offering a service, whatever it might be, you have the ability to do it. And this is the cards letting you know the reason you feel frustrated, the reason you feel unmotivated and stuck is because you are due for a transformation. It's just a matter of letting go of the fears so that you can allow yourself to transform. So that's the energy that you're drawing on in the present moment. You have full access to the transformation power of Moldavite. You just have to say yes. Really, you just have to be willing to surrender whatever is not working, you know? When you surrender what's not working, you never lose anything. You only make room for something better. It's like, okay, I'm going to surrender my mess. And what you get when you surrender your mess is a clean place. Surrender your laziness. And what you get is the reward that comes with hard work. Surrender your frustration. And what you get is the drive and the motivation to do what needs to be done. So this card is really showing now is the time for you to surrender all of the inner blockages that you've built up against achieving what you want to achieve. Surrender your fear of struggle. Surrender your fear of lack. Surrender your fear of being left with nothing. It's not even saying quit your job, leave your partner, move to a new place, throw away all your stuff and replace it with all new stuff. It's not saying to do any of that. It's just saying let go of the fear of losing what you have now. When you let go of that fear and you welcome in the transformational energy of Moldavite, whatever is not serving you will drop away on its own. If you have a habit, for example, of overindulging in junk food and you feel like it's just taking over your life and you can't control it, surrendering to this transformation energy just means you will start craving healthier snacks. You'll start feeling that natural fullness that comes when you don't need any more. You'll start feeling satiated. You'll start to be able to handle it. So this card isn't telling you drastically throw your life into an upheaval and change anything. It's telling you don't be afraid of a drastic upheaval that might just change everything. Looking into the past, what brought us into this moment is the card of Numite reversed. And the message on this card is the message of reunion. So Numite, it's a very powerful, very, very ancient stone. And it carries with it a similar transformational energy to Moldavite, but in a way that is deeply rooted in earth magic. It's connected to the ancient elements of Mother Nature. The reunion that it's symbolizing on this card is showing the sun and the moon, the light self and the shadow self, never actually separated, but being depicted, coexisting simultaneously in this woman's face. What this card represents, it's not the reunion between two people, it's the reunion between who you are out loud and who you are secretly within yourself. Now, when that card appears reversed in the past position, it shows in early childhood, feeling like you're not able to express your desires out loud, your emotions out loud, your feelings, your thoughts, because others are not able to understand and accept them. And so it shows the repression of the side of yourself that is so totally unique that it doesn't fit the mold or the formula of the society in which you were born. When this reunion card is reversed, imagine sunshine 24/7, which might be fun for a few days, but damn, you'll be exhausted when you just want some darkness so you can close your eyes and fall asleep. It's like you have to be constantly on. It's like if you're an actor and the curtain never closes, so you never get to break character. This card of reunion reversed in the early childhood shows no wonder you're in desperate need of this transformation in the present moment, because to a great extent, you've been living your life based on what you feel you should do, not what you inwardly yearn to do. When people are growing up, they often feel pressured to follow in the footsteps of their parents or of their teachers, of their mentors, of the celebrity they idolize, of the sports team that they see all the men in their lives cheering for. So they feel like, okay, maybe I'll get cheered for too if I score that touchdown or sink that basket. Maybe people will listen to me if I'm on a stage belting it out at Coachella. Maybe people will want to hear what I have to say if I'm getting interviewed on The Tonight Show. It's the feeling of having goals and aspirations, but that are not your natural desires. They're societally imposed desires. When you feel that your inner self isn't getting listened to, acknowledged, respected by the people in your life in your early childhood, naturally you'll start looking outward to see who does get respect, who does get listened to, who gets praised. And in our society, it just so happens to be, more than anybody else, the celebrities. And besides that, on a smaller scale, you might see, okay, the people who have the biggest parties thrown for them are the people who are getting married. So I better find that perfect person and settle down and get married and have a family. This will be for some, not everyone listening, but I better follow the formula my parents and my grandparents and my great-grandparents set out for me, which is be a good family person, get married and have kids because that's what's expected. Get a good job, earn a steady income because that's what's expected. Get a house, sign on to a mortgage, be committed for the next 20 years to this financial obligation because that's dependable, that's stable, that's what's expected. And so it might be one of those things, it might be all of those things. But what this card is showing, because it appeared reversed, is that if inside you were feeling like, wow, I want to be a healer and awaken my inner energies, I want to connect with the stars, I want to start channeling higher energies through myself to serve the world, but somebody else said, that sounds ridiculous, that sounds like hocus pocus, if you want to be a healer, go to medical school. It shows you ignoring that inner desire and instead going with what's outwardly acceptable. If you feel like And it doesn't have to be something as extreme as that, but basically when you're feeling something inside and somebody else laughs at that, you might say you want to be a world-class athlete, you want to be an Olympian, you want to be a basketball player, a boxer, you want to be, a black belt in karate, and people around you are saying, oh, that's really hard, I don't think you have what it takes to do that, or they just laugh at you in your face. If you start ignoring your inner calling and putting on the mask that you feel you have to wear in order to get along with the world, that whole mystical, intuitive, nighttime, dreaming, lunar energy self of yours gets totally lost. And so the reunion is when you're able to take your most mystical, intuitive ideas, your deepest, sometimes darkest, but not necessarily, just your deepest ideas of who you are, and find a way to integrate them as part of your everyday reality also. I'll give you an example out of my life. When I was reading tarot cards for myself secretly, I was kind of like an in-the-closet mystic. I had experiences hearing the voices of the Arcturians and visions of the Mother Goddess, but I didn't dare tell anybody about any of that because even before saying anything out loud, I assumed I would be laughed at, ridiculed, maybe called crazy, and I didn't want to risk that, so I just kept living my normal life, working fashion retail, paying off my student loans, fitting in, being normal, doing what was expected. When the Moldavite energy came into my life, quite literally, I mean, when I bought a piece of Moldavite and started wearing it, suddenly I found myself losing that stable fashion retail job that I was attached to for practical reasons and getting hired at a really cool mystical shop where suddenly this lunar side of myself could express. I found myself getting pushed by people around me to start opening up about tarot, about the Hindu gods and goddesses I felt a connection with, about angelic kingdoms and crystal healing. And it's like the moment I started working with Moldavite, all the aspects of myself I had been repressing were suddenly invited to the party. And so what I'm seeing in your cards here is that if you rectify the reversed card of transformation, all the things that you've repressed from your childhood, all the things that you've avoided to express for fear of lack of acceptance, are going to come to the forefront. And so this ancient mystical energy of Pneumite, which is the power to help bridge the gap between the dream state and the waking state, the creative aspirations and the outer manifestations, you'll find a way to start bringing that reunion into your everyday life. These are the cards of a powerful energy healer. And so I can tell all of you who chose pile 1, you really are here for that path of service. So as we look into your future card, the gemstone Charoite represents this higher path of being a light in the world. This gateway, this arch of light represents you. That's who you are. You are this doorway that leads to a divine oneness with existence. That path of service is not only what you're meant to be walking on, it's also what you are a guide, what you are here to lead others into. And so it's no coincidence that you yourself have had to block aspects of yourself in order to find acceptance by peers, friends, teachers, parents, coworkers, bosses, whoever it might be. It's no wonder that you have experienced repression and that you have built up fears of letting go, because you can only truly walk a path of service and help others express themselves and share their gifts with the world and be healers if first you overcome those blockages yourself. People who have everything come too easily and too naturally. They might be great speakers, they might be great showmen, but in the end, they don't inspire anybody else to become what they are, because other people see them and think, well, how come everything happens so easily for that guy? Why didn't I have that experience? Why didn't I have it so easy? The people who have it really easy when it comes to spiritual gifts and spiritual expressions, they make great teachers. But the people who have the challenges become the great masters. They're the ones who can open that door for others and lead that path of service. Now, I'm not saying start a cult or I've been in a cult. That's the worst place anybody can be. I'm not saying get a bunch of people to follow you. What living that path of service means is leading by example. When you balance your energies and start sharing your talents, start opening up about your dreams, you'll find the best way to express your energy. And just off the top of my head, that can be everything from massage therapy and Reiki and really clear healing arts like crystal healing, sound therapy, making music that energizes people, that inspires people, guiding meditations. It can also mean, on a more practical level, becoming a nurse. But becoming a nurse and also sharing the wisdom, the healing arts with the patients that you encounter. Becoming a doctor, but also keeping your mind open to the ways people can sometimes manifest disease in order to cope with difficulties and to overcome traumas. The path of service doesn't mean living a mystical life and shunning materiality. You can be a teacher in the school system and teach the curriculum set out by the government that you have to teach, but you can also inspire your students to live a meditative life, to be integrated. You can show them the compassion that they need in order to flourish within themselves. Like, the path of service can be the shamanic path, where you're guiding meditations and taking people on nature walks and introducing them to medicinal plants. It can be that. Or it can be working whatever job you have, but from the higher point of view, where every day you surrender to existence and make yourself a channel through which the greatest blessings can reach everyone who comes in contact with your energy. I want to share with you a story, something that happened in one of my very first tarot card readings ever when I lived in Vancouver. I had a man show up at my door, the door to the tarot room on Granville Island, and he did not look happy to be there. Like, if you can imagine, like, put yourself in my position here, just you're sitting at your tarot table, you're ready to offer some guidance, you're happy, you're pumped, you love what you do. You look up, there's a surly looking man in a business suit glaring at you from your door. That's what I saw when I looked up, a surly looking man in a business suit. And I said to him, "Would you like a reading?" And I probably said it in that tone of voice, like a little shocked, like, "What, do you want a reading?" And he said, "No, but my wife is forcing me to get one, so how much is it?" And I said, "Well, I don't want to read your cards if your wife is forcing you to get a reading. Like, I'm here to read for people who want readings, not who have to get readings." And he said, "Well, I can't go back out there and tell my wife that you don't want to read my cards. Like, then she'll get mad at me and say, like, well, what, did you insult her?" So I told him, "Okay, here's what we'll do. I've got my sketchbook. I'm going to sit here and draw my pictures. You can sit in the corner over there and read your newspaper. After 15 minutes, you can go out there and tell your wife it was bullshit." And he said, "Well, why would I tell her that?" And I said, "Because that's what you believe, right?" And he said, "Well, yeah, but now I kind of want a reading." And so I told him to come in and sit down, and that I would be happy to read for him now that he wants the reading. And while I was still shuffling the cards, before I even spread any cards out on the table, I felt compelled to tell him about Siddhartha Gautama, specifically the Herman Hesse novel, not necessarily the actual story of Buddha, but the novel version. And when it came to the part in the Seeker's Wandering, after Siddhartha had tried everything he could try to get enlightened and nothing worked, when he finally surrendered and decided to just go back home again and live his Dharma, on the last leg of his journey back to his palace, feeling like he had lost every opportunity and like nothing mattered anymore, like maybe there's not even any such thing as inner peace, he came to a river. And as he was ready to step on the boat to cross the river, he noticed this glow in the eye of the boatman. He saw this true peace that he had been yearning for. He just felt that this boatman has what he's been looking for. And he asked the boatman, "What's the secret to your happiness?" And the boatman told him, "I'm not wealthy, but every day people need to cross the river, so I always have a steady income. And I may not live in a palace, but look at my view. I have this gorgeous landscape to admire. And I'm all alone here, but I'm never lonely because every day I get to meet people from all over the world who come to cross this river." And Siddhartha realized the boatman's ability to be grateful for everything he had was what he had been looking for. Not great wealth, but being nurtured by reality, nurtured by your surroundings. Not a huge palace, but the appreciation for the nature around you. Not necessarily another person to complete you or a big family to carry on your name, but to take joy in the little interactions you have. So I was sharing this with that originally surly, angry-looking businessman, and his whole face softened. He started to cry, like he had tears coming out of his eyes. I handed him the box of Kleenex that we kept at the tarot room. And he told me that he was from Calgary and that his company had downsized, so he had had a really high-paying job up until the week before, and that suddenly he got laid off. And he had told his wife he just doesn't know what to do with himself because his whole identity had been built up with the role he played in that company. So they came to Vancouver just on a little trip to get his mind off of the work situation. And he said he just wasn't really feeling it. He felt like he had spent his whole life working towards the goal of that company. So for the company to downsize and let him go made him feel like he was a failure, like everything he'd ever worked for had fallen through and there's no longer a point. And that morning, they asked the concierge of their hotel in Yaletown, like, "What would you recommend we do? We're tourists here, we don't know Vancouver that well, where should we go?" And the concierge had told them, "Take the little aqua bus across False Creek and check out Granville Island. If I had a day to spend as a tourist, that's where I'd go." So they took the aqua bus, which is a little water ferry, and that businessman noticed as soon as they stepped onto the boat that the pilot of the boat just had joy to him. He told me that that man was smiling and friendly and cracking jokes with the passengers and just seemed to be in his element. And so the businessman asked that boatman, "What's the secret to your happiness?" And that man, driving the aqua bus across False Creek in Vancouver, told him, "I may not be wealthy, but every day people have to cross False Creek, so I know I have a steady income. I don't live in a palace, I live in a studio apartment, but I have a view of this landscape, of the mountains of Vancouver. It's so beautiful. And I moved out here all alone. I live by myself, But I'm not lonely because every day I get to meet tourists like you, and I just love this life. Sounds familiar, right? Deja vu, like 2,000 years ago in India, what that boatman had expressed. This, I would call him like an earth angel, this like guide for this businessman in a seemingly ordinary job driving the aqua bus on False Creek. He had the key to the happiness that man was looking for. So the man told me that when they reached the other side and they got onto the dock and started climbing the steps, he said to his wife jokingly, "Maybe I should become a boatman." And his wife saw a sign for the tarot room and said, "Why don't you go get a tarot card reading and see if being a boatman comes up in your cards?" So that for me was one of my favorite experiences ever at the tarot room. I did give him a full reading after telling him that story of Siddhartha. It was kind of his bonus, just like the power card here was your bonus. But he told me after the reading that suddenly he felt like whatever he had built up towards in the past in that career for the company that downsized, that got rid of him, he said he suddenly understood it doesn't matter what job he does next. It doesn't matter whether he's making as much as he did before or less or more. Doesn't matter where he lives. Doesn't matter who he's with. What matters is that he has the appreciation and the wisdom to see that what we have is what we're meant to have, and to become content, just like the boatman was content. When I see the Path of Service card, I think of that aqua bus driver on Granville Island going across False Creek. He was living that path of service. He might not have even realized it, but whenever a tourist crossed False Creek, or an Emily Carr student, or somebody who worked at the public market, like, don't get me wrong, Vancouverites use the aqua bus too, but whenever he would smile and crack jokes and interact with those passengers, he wasn't just a ferry pilot, he was also showing them a higher possibility in life. That's what that path of service is. When you can do an ordinary job in an extraordinary way, when people can feel that vibe from you that just makes them feel better. If you're outside going for a walk and you make an effort to smile at people, that's the path of service. If you're teaching kids and you go the extra mile to make sure that they've actually learned, instead of just assigning them a government-issued test and getting mad if they fail or feeling proud if they pass, but making it your goal to actually get through to them, that's the path of service. Whatever you do, if you do it in a way where you're constantly surrendering to existence, that your actions, your words, your energy blesses everyone who comes in contact with you, that's the path of service. When we see the Path of Service card upright in your future, it shows that regardless of what has happened in the past, that's the energy that you're moving into in your next phase of life. You're going to experience an unlocking of your communication skills like never before. The thing about the air element card is that air is the energy that carries words. It carries the vibration of the sound that you make. When we don't see that in the past or the present, it shows that you haven't yet fully articulated who you are, what you're about, what you aim to do, and how you aim to do it yet. But when you do, it's going to be an uplifting energy, not only for you, but for everyone around you also. So embrace the transformation. Don't have any fear of letting go of anything. Be ready for change. It's going to be change for the better. And start looking into your early childhood dreams, your early childhood ambitions, the things you wanted to do, wanted to say, but didn't. And start bringing those into your present reality. Start being who you wanted to be as a child, because it's never too late to draw that energy forward. Now we have some fire energy, we have some air energy, we have some storm energy. The two that we're not seeing are earth and water. So what would be awesome for you at this point is to take a healing bath, take a long shower, drink a lot of water, go outside if it's raining. If you can get to a mountain stream, a lake, a river, the beach, put your feet in the water, allow that water energy to shower over you, because the elements we don't see in a reading are the elements you'll always be craving, because you already have storm, you already have air. The power card is showing that there's some fire going on in you right now. So what you'll be craving a lot of is water. When you're in the water, you will feel like you're in your element. And the same goes with nature. When you're in the mountains, when you're among the trees, when your feet are in the grass, that's also like being in your element. So get outside as often as you can, enjoy nature, enjoy the water, and enjoy this transformation. So like I said, in this sample reading, I'm looking at 3 energies. If you ever get the one-on-one reading available on my Wizio page, we'll go into 6 cards representing your crystal energies and your elemental energies, some for your outer world, some for your inner world. In this reading, we basically look just at the outer world cards. But I hope it was helpful for you. Thank you so much for watching. Much love, and we'll see you next time. Okay, hello those of you who chose pile 2. Before we start looking at your oracle cards, the stone that you chose to symbolize this reading is this gorgeous, luscious Moldavite crystal cave. This is a natural piece of Moldavite from the Czech Republic that just happens to be shaped like a little cave that you can go into and meditate and transform and buzz with energy. So when you choose Moldavite as your current moment symbol, it shows that this really is a time of transformation, purification, and renewal in your life. The transformative energy awakened by Moldavite is the energy that gets rid of anything that's holding you back, like for example, any chaos or mess in your physical space that needs to be cleaned and purged. It's the time to do that spring cleaning. Any people who are just constantly belittling you and making fun of you, it's time to stand up against them. Maybe cut them out of your life temporarily if you need that cleansing, or just ask them to treat you better, which is another form of cleansing and purging. It can mean moving to a new place, moving to a new career, moving to a new group of friends, changing your diet, starting to implement more exercise, whatever it might mean. When we make these changes sparked by the Moldavite energy, we always wind up in a higher energetic frequency than we were in before. So sometimes it feels like chaos and confusion and turmoil, and like everything that could possibly change is changing all of a sudden, all at once. That's the Moldavite. But we always wind up in a better place than we were before. So in this time of transformation, we're going to have a look at your elements, which energies you've brought into life. But first, I'm going to play some singing bowl to cleanse the cards, to cleanse this room from the energies revealed in pile 1's reading. Setting the intention that whatever messages come through the Crystal Ally Oracle come through to serve your highest good, that the messages are coming from your team for you. That was interesting. I've never heard this singing bowl make a pulsating sound before. That was something special for you, pile 2. You might be musicians. You might have a way with sacred sounds. I can hear that in the singing bowl. So we're going to look at 3 cards today. Whoops. You've got 1 extra, the card of courage represented by bloodstone. that flipped over as I was shuffling. So we're taking this as your bonus energy. And what we see in this earth element card is a woman walking across lava. Imagine like a volcano just erupted and she is stepping on whatever stones she can. You know that little game that we play as kids in the mall where we only step on tiles that are darker colors or lighter colors and we pretend everything else on the floor is lava? I don't know if you did that. I used to do that with my friends when I was a kid. But this card reminds me of that. Like, don't step on the lava. Only in this case, instead of a joke or a game, she's showing the true courage to walk through fire in order to achieve her goals. Now, as an earth element card, this symbolizes practicality, getting back to the basics, doing what needs to be done in order to achieve the goals that you've set for yourself. It takes courage to build something new. And when I combine that with the Moldavite that you chose as the crystal symbol for your reading, it shows that not only are you in a time of transformation, but also that your very earthly reality is shifting. So this could really be the move to a new place or the getting a new job that I had given as examples of what Moldavite can bring on. And because the courage card was right side up, you have the courage. It's like you've been working towards this. Now you are in a place where you feel ready for it. So more power to you, pile 2. We're going to look at your present, past, and future energy. What's really fascinating here is that just like those in pile 1, both your present and your past are being expressed in the storm energy cards. So what that means is you were a spiritual being at birth. Like, you're the kind of person people refer to as an old soul, even when you're a little kid. So I wouldn't be surprised if the people in your life regularly tell you and have told you from the time you were little that you are intuitive, that you're special, that you're gifted, that you're spiritual. And there's a reason you're drawn to watching a video like this one about spiritual energy. Now, in the present moment, the crystal ally that you're working for is the ally of diamond. What we consider at this current stage in Earth human evolution as the most expensive stone. A diamond is forever, a girl's best friend. It's a symbol of marriage. It's a symbol of commitment. It's a symbol of moving into the life phase of being a grown-up. In a lot of ways, of all the gemstones represented in all the crystal cards and all the decks, no other represents commitment quite like diamond. Now in this deck, the diamond card represents transcendence. That's like the highest form of commitment, where you let go of your old ego identity and you become your highest possibility, your best possible self. When that card is reversed, it is showing that you feel stuck and attached to your ego identity. Now, I'm not saying, don't misquote me here, I'm not saying that you have a big, huge ego and you're so full of yourself and you just can't get past your ego self. What I'm saying is that you have become enmeshed in your human identities, your gender, your name, your occupation, your family, your home country, your citizenship, your city. Who you are is something far beyond what you are. And I think especially at this point in time, with the movement towards gender expression and gender fluidity becoming mainstream and socially acceptable, which I'm all for, it's a good thing, a lot of people become focused on the pronouns that identify us as sexualities. Who you are is not who you are attracted to. It's not who you want to share your life with romantically. The same way, who you are is not how much you earn. It's not your socioeconomic tax bracket. It's not your address. It's not your hair color. Everything about people that we as human beings tend to fixate on does not actually identify the true self. It's kind of like my chosen pronoun is spiritual being. Don't call me a person, don't call me a human. I identify as Arcturian, you know what I mean? But all jokes aside, when this card is here reversed, it shows you've become stuck on your identities rather than your supreme self. When this card comes up in your present moment, it shows that now is a time that you can really achieve a breakthrough in your transcendental journey into the realization of your spiritual self and your cosmic self. So this is not necessarily the time to have courage to move to a new house or to get a new job or to leave a relationship or start a relationship. This is more about your relationship with yourself than it is about your relationship with other people. It's the role that you play within your evolutionary cycle of identity. So I won't even say there may, I'm just going to clarify this message and speak what existence is telling me right now. What's channeling through is that you have already, with great courage, broken the barriers of identity and declared your own pronouns in a way that you wouldn't have necessarily felt comfortable doing in previous parts of your life, in your childhood, in your earlier years. You have taken that courage to declare who you are, what you like, what you don't like, how you want to be treated, with which groups you want to be affiliated and associated. You've walked through that lava, but you found the safe places to put your feet to avoid getting burned. And you're still marching forward with that same courage. But what this card is showing is not to focus only on the face value aspects of yourself. Don't make your whole identity just about your sexuality, your income level, your personal style, how you do your hair. Those things are important, of course. They're part of the human experience. But you, my friend, are not just a human. You are your spiritual identity experiencing itself in that human form through which you're listening to these words and looking at these cards. It is definitely time for you to move from this self into that self. If you ever have a dream of flying, that's the transcendence. Don't think of this symbol as being an angel lifting up a lowly human. Think of it as this diamond essence, this spiritual self expressing in both of those forms. And this person who felt previously stuck on the ground, remembering that they can fly. This angel is the same as this self. When the card is reversed, it shows that there's a yearning, there's a longing within you to explore your higher dimensional awareness. Activate your light body, explore the etheric energies. Maybe you feel a calling to do something similar to what I'm doing with these kinds of readings. The answer is yes, that is part of your path. You are meant to be exploring this higher spiritual calling. What I'd recommend doing, especially for everyone who chose pile 2, is meditate. Get in touch with your true inner being. If you have access to Hindu temples, go into a temple and look at the deities, but don't look at them as statues. Look at them as expressions of the same self that expresses through you, and see what qualities, what attributes, what divine traits are associated with them, and understand that those are also yours. Go into nature Breathe in the oxygen being released by the beautiful trees. And understand that you also have that magic in you, the same magic of photosynthesis that can turn sunlight into energy. You have it. You can turn your humanness into divinity. That is exactly what this powerful, powerful card represents. So we can rectify the reversal of that transcendence card simply by recognizing that now is a time for you to experience your transcendental nature. The reason it came up reversed is that in your childhood position, the card of spirit represented by the crystal Danburite was reversed. Now, what the spirit card represents, what the crystal of Danburite awakens and triggers in those who work with it, is that quality, that spiritual quality that we feel when we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that existence has our back. When we know that no matter what's going on in the world around us, we are taken care of. That even if we die, death is not the end of our existence. It's only shedding the clothes of this body to pick up something else next. The spirit card represents being tuned into that spiritual reality, the spiritual energy. But when it's reversed, it's an untapped resource. When people recognize you as an old soul in your younger years, it's not because you were telling them about spirituality. It's not because you were guiding them in a meditation or leading them on a mystic journey. You weren't doing any of those things out loud, expressively, but they could feel your depth. You know, when some people stare off into space, there isn't any magic about it. It's just being zoned out, being tuned out. Maybe they're daydreaming about something. Maybe they're fantasizing. Maybe they're trying to remember their grocery list so they don't forget anything at the store later. When you would stare off into space in your younger years, people could tell that you were seeing something. You were tapping into something. That's the spirituality that has gone unexpressed up till now. It's kind of like it's there, it's laying dormant within you. You know there's something, but you haven't grasped it yet. Now, the reason a card like that would be reversed is that you weren't nurtured in an environment that recognized spirit as an elemental gift. For example, the Earth card, the Earth energy cards, represent practicality, groundedness, being great at physical tasks. For example, if you have a relay race to run, an earth energy person will be able to run it in the way that's most efficient. It's practicality, it's efficiency, it's organization, it's boss energy in a very worldly sense. And you do have that. It's there in the courage card. It's also there in the future position of the receptive power card. People see that as a marketable skill. Air energy, which we don't see anywhere in your cards, is an energy that gets most valued in our society. The air energy is the energy of intellectual ability, being good at languages, being good, for example, in English language arts at writing an essay, being really good at math, science, social studies, testing well, being able to speak when you're put on the spot and you haven't prepared or you haven't planned, being good at study as well, being, intellectually gifted. I'm not saying that you're a dummy. You are intellectually gifted, but those kinds of things don't come as naturally to you. You have to work for them. And when we see so much of the spirit element in the past and the present, it shows that your nature is more meditative, more prayerful. You'd feel more at home playing a singing bowl, lighting some incense, laying out some cards, going into a temple, going on a spiritual pilgrimage, talking about the higher powers, talking about God, gods, goddesses, angels, than you would flipping open a textbook and studying for an exam. And don't laugh. Some people do feel more comfortable flipping open a textbook and studying for an exam than going on a spiritual pilgrimage and talking about the higher goals of spiritual life. The reason I could feel some of you laughing at that is that you were thinking, well, isn't everybody more comfortable talking about divine things than studying for a test? Nuh-uh. People who are more air element, who don't have that spirit element, totally into studying. People with more of the water element, totally into emoting. The emotions are represented by the water element. The poetic, creative, where the spirit element person goes into a temple and goes into a communion or a communication with the divine. The water element person will go into a temple and marvel at the beauty of the carvings on the walls. It's more of the poetic, artful soul. And the fire element person will go in and immediately find ways to make it even better. That fire energy is constantly driven and passionate to create something new, to make it different, to make it better, to create. Now, the air energy of the intellect, the water energy of poeticism, the fire energy of drive and creative determination to blaze a path to make something new. By nature of the fact that those three energies are not represented in your cards, you'll often feel in life like you can't relate to the other people around you. You don't understand what makes them tick, what inspires them. You might listen to a song and the lyricist or the singer is pouring their little heart out and you're thinking, so what? Like, that's so shallow, it's so superficial. How does this even matter to this person? Because your energy is of such a pure spiritual quality that you would get bored with something that's creative just for the sake of creativity, like in the water element, for something emotional but not spiritual, like the water element, for something passionate and fiery and creative but that doesn't touch the soul, or for something intellectual but that's fleeting, that's only linked to this one human life. You might have found yourself not always doing as well academically because you don't see the goal of academic success or getting a typical practical job as a goal that even means anything to you. Your goals are of a higher nature. Now, these cards being reversed shows that was not always supported or nurtured in you. People would have told you, be more practical. Why can't you be more? And then fill in that blank with what they said to you. The rare individual would recognize you as an old soul and feel a kinship with your spiritual essence. It's very likely that you had a friend or a relative, a parent, a teacher, somebody in your life who was your ally in that, who understood your depth and your soul. But more often than not, people would think you were weird. And I'm with you on that pile too. Like, I got that a lot as a kid. But what we see moving into the future is that as you embrace your deep, powerful spirituality, as you have the courage to declare your pronouns, not only with relation to gender or economic status or whatever else you might identify yourself as, what you're moving into is this receptive power. This is an earth element card. So finally, after all the spirit energy of your childhood, we're getting into some practicality, some groundedness. This is the time in your life to connect with nature, to be fully human, to take all your divine spirituality, your ambitions towards Buddhahood, your ambitions towards connecting with the divine, your ambitions towards knowing God, and to achieve it, in your human body, to bring it down to earth. Before you were you, before you identified as that self you identify as now, you were pure spirit. The reason that pure spirit came down into this human body is to experience it in this humanness. Receptive power, you can tell by the symbol of the femininity here. Receptive power is the divine feminine energy that is motherhood. That doesn't mean you're pregnant. I'm not reading your future here saying you're going to have a baby. What I'm saying here is the receptive energy is the energy to birth something new into the physical earth plane. The spirit and the transcendence that you're courageously connecting with at this point in time. Is that something new that you are nurturing? Be receptive to that. I hope this is making sense for you. This is a more mystical message than I typically get when I pull 3 random cards from this deck. 4 because one jumped out. But your cards here are much more mystical than if there was an air card, a water card, a fire card, an earth card. Having 2 spirit cards shows that 2 spirit nature, which is more divine, more mystical. Now, when it comes to your energies, like what strengths you've brought into this life with you, the power to transform a negative into a positive is one of your gifts. You're able to hold hope, even in a situation other people would find hopeless. And in that sense, you would be an amazing motivational speaker. It takes a little bit more work for you to express yourself in such a way that others will grasp. You might have had difficulty with speaking in the past. People might have trouble understanding what you're saying. That could take the form of a speech impediment, or it could take the form of extreme shyness, or just getting frustrated that you don't have the words to say what you want to say. But as you move into this receptive power, when you do start expressing your ideas verbally, they are going to transform people. You know, the same energy of transcendence you're experiencing, you'll be able to lead by an example of how others can tap into that powerful, courageous force. You'd be a great motivator, you'd be a great coach, even when it comes to people working out physically, because these 2 earth element cards are here. If you ever went into something like sports medicine, sports therapy, personal training, you'd be able to really help people express themselves physically, build their bodies, become powerfully healthy. And you could do it in a nurturing, loving way, because we have that divine feminine receptivity here instead of just the masculine leadership drive here. You would inspire people to transform instead of bullying them to transform. You know, it wouldn't be like a boot camp style gym where somebody's yelling, move your fat ass and start running. You'd be more the type to say, come on, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. You know what I mean? Actually, in this post-body shaming era where everyone is embraced and accepted for the unique shape that they are, I don't think anybody would be yelling, move your fat ass anymore. But as a child of the 90s who grew up seeing, you know, influencers like, I forget their names, that Susan Powder, I think, was one of them. I do remember as a kid actually seeing on TV a person in the gym getting yelled at by their trainer, yelling at them to work off that fat ass, stop being a lazy slob. Like, that's the era I grew up in. You're transforming this into a new era. So if you take fitness motivation as part of your path, you'd be really good at it. You could help people achieve their goals in a way that doesn't make them break their spirit. So yeah, things that you would be good at. Let's look at all of your positive qualities here. You'd be great at motivation. You'd be great at coaching. You'd be great at mentorships for people. You would be really good at any physical healing arts. Physical healing arts meaning like massage therapy, sharing essential oils, aromatherapy, sound therapy that people are listening to, you know, creating something physical that helps somebody else. I'm even feeling sculpture, like working with your hands, getting your hands into your artistic medium. If you paint, try painting without the brushes. Do something just with your hands. Do some finger painting, like feel the paint. Get into your earthly energy, get into your earth element. The next time you're out for a walk in nature, take some of the stones and build up mandalas with them. You know, make shapes on the ground in stones, pile up some sticks. You know, I just have this strong feeling coming through for all of you who chose pile 2, that the spiritual transcendence will be most powerfully unlocked when you start being grateful for the physical body you're in. And if you heard some of my messages, this won't be for everyone, but for some of you listening, if you heard me say that you would be great inspiring people at a gym, or even as a sports coach, helping people with their fitness journeys, if you're thinking you have never been fit or athletic or achieved those goals yourself, how could you help others? The spirit cards were all in the past. The earth element is coming up in the future. So what it's showing is that this is something that you haven't fully tapped into yet, but that you can. It's like that's one of the options on the table for you. It takes courage, but you could do it really successfully, really powerfully. So yeah, I feel like your gifts are working with your hands, working with nature, being outdoors. Where you would shine is going on a hike, but in total silence, putting away your earphones, listening to the sounds of the birds chirping, the leaves rustling, the wind blowing, the crunch of the twigs under your feet as you step, and making that a meditation, like tuning into spirit through the outdoorsiness. The missing elements, the air, the fire, and the water, those are the things that you will crave. You're the type of person, when you're cold, you're freezing. You crave that fire energy. When you're hot, like if it goes above 30 degrees Celsius, you are burning. You want to jump into the cold water. And you feel a shortness of breath at times. Like if you get to talking and you don't get to pause for breath, you're like, or if you're out for a walk or a jog, you feel like you're getting winded. Because the air, the fire, and the water energy are not here in the cards, what I'm saying is when you're in a position where one of those 3 is lacking, the coolness of the water, the heat of the fire, or the breath of air, you feel a burning need for it, I would say, more powerfully than other people do. So being in your element would be in nature, connecting with spirit, but you will crave lots of water. So make sure you've always got a water bottle. You'll get really cold more easily. Always have like a hoodie or something with you, and take your time, pause to breathe. Those things, when you become consciously aware of incorporating all of the elements into your daily routine, the life energies come to such a beautiful balance. People will no longer feel like you're an old soul, really mystical, but not suited for this world. Instead, you'll be like that wise old soul who is helping people in the physical world. I really hope this made sense for you. That was a lot. That was a powerful energy that came through for you. Everyone who chose pile 2, I feel the diamond is the most important symbol for you in this reading. When the coal is pressurized and the earth energy is just crushing it and condensing it, and finally it crystallizes as a diamond. That transcendence, that movement from like a base common material into a refined, beautiful, full spectrum, clear energy, that's you. Like, you've gone through the pressure, you've been coal long enough. It's time to shine your multifaceted diamond brilliance. Remember that you can fly. Remember that you are profoundly gifted. Make your body what you've always wanted it to be. It is your divine vessel. And have the courage to wear it with pride. You know, you're not stuck in this body, whereas you're meant to be pure spirit. You already were pure spirit. You came into this body for a reason. Own it, enjoy it, work it, build it, love it. And just by doing that, you will be helping so many other people also do the same. Thank you so much for watching. Now again, this is the general reading. When I do one of the readings like this, but on Wizio, I go into 6 cards, not just 3. We look at the energies you brought into your life and from the same deck, same elemental deck. We look at outer world and inner world. And it goes a little bit more in depth into what you're meant to be doing career-wise and how you're meant to be growing and evolving inwardly to feed into that career. It's a whole other thing. Hit me up on Wizio if you're curious about it. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I love you. We'll see you in the next video. All right, those who chose pile 3, welcome to your reading. Before I look at the cards, I want to show you this gorgeous piece of Labradorite that you chose as the symbol for your reading. I find the underside, like the way it's carved, this is supposed to be the front, but look at how much more color is there on the back. Isn't that just magic? Labradorite as a gem is the stone of magic. It has such a strong third eye energy. And when we work with it, it symbolizes awakening our intuition, tapping into our magical abilities, connecting with our gifts and our talents in the spiritual realm, and also being able to share those with the world. So when you chose Labradorite, you are magical. And part of this reading for you will be to unlock and tap in and discover what magic you carry. But first, I'm going to play the singing bowl just to cleanse the space in my room, to cleanse the cards, to release the energies that came through in pile 1 and pile 2's reading, and to set the tone for you, pile 3. As I play the singing bowl, I'm going to call on your team, your whole higher guidance existence, to ensure that whatever messages come through to serve your highest good in a way that matches the energies of your life, that will be most helpful, beneficial, and useful for you at this time. So, the elemental energies for everyone who chose pile 3. Feel like this is the card coming through as your bonus. I'm going to take both of these as bonus energies for you. We'll look at those in a second. Wow, so illumination reversed and spontaneity right side up. What was I saying about tapping into your magic and finding your magic and then expressing it? That's there in these 2 cards. So I feel like that energy I mentioned coming from Labradorite is being expressed. Illumination is like that sudden epiphany in the third eye where what never made sense before, suddenly it makes sense. When this card comes up reversed as one of your bonuses, It means one of the goals you're setting for yourself at this point in time is to unlock that ability to see what's not physically visible, that third eye power of intuition, of clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance. Every one of us has a psychic ability. For each, it would be something different. But for sure, now is the time in your life to tap into it. And then the spontaneity card, which is a fire element card, represented by this golden calcite. That's the energy of playfulness, of fun. You can see these two people standing on this like pyramid of crystal, dancing. They've got flower garlands. They're connecting with nature. They're outside. They're just letting it loose. What it means when these two cards come together is that your illumination, your aha moment of third eye clarity, it's not going to come from tapas, like from spiritual penance, from forcing yourself into a spiritual mold. It is going to come from spontaneity. The more playful you are, the more creative you are, the more expressive you are, the more intuitive you become. So we have present, past, and future in your cards. Wow. Okay. You are smart, pile 3. Those of you who chose pile 3, every single card on the table is upright. So what that means is that the spiritual energies you brought into this lifetime with you, you are already tapped in and utilizing them, which is really, really awesome. You haven't had people repress your natural self in the way others might. Now, in the present moment, the card of magic, represented by the stone Labradorite, is beyond perfect. Like, this is why I say, wow, you are smart. You are tapped into your energy. Of all the readings I've given today, this is the first one where the present moment card is upright and matches exactly the stone you chose to represent your reading. Like, that to me is just amazingly cool. And like I said, you are magic. The fact that the Labradorite card is here in the present moment, that means this, more than any other time in your life, is the time where you feel your magic. You really feel it. You don't just want to believe, like, you believe. You know that you have intuition. You know that you have clairvoyance. You know that you have guides working with you, helping you, talking to you, assisting you. You see synchronicities. When you notice a repeat number, you know it's not just because somebody told you to start noticing it. Like, you actually have it come up randomly at times when it's unexpected, like on car license plates and on the clock and on pages of a book you open to randomly. Like, you see that magic expressing in your life, and you are unlocking it powerfully. The Labradorite card and the Labradorite stone in general represent coming into your power in an enjoyable way, in a mystical way, and in such a way that you can manifest your reality. And it doesn't just change in your perception, it also changes in your experience and your circumstance and your surroundings. So sometimes when we're manifesting something new, whether it's a dream job or a better relationship or a vacation or whatever, like when we manifest, sometimes people have trouble holding the space of possibility for what they want to manifest. And so they have all kinds of unrequited desires. They have vision boards covered with pictures of stuff that they used to want, that they lost interest in, and they never seem to be able to manifest. Labradorite, that's the power of manifestation by divinely linking with what you want with what you're meant to have. So you'll notice, like, people will sometimes tell you, like, I wish I had your luck. Like, you've when I've been in this energy, one of my aunties would say, you've got horseshoes up your butt. Like you've got good luck charms you don't even know you have. When we see this in the upright position, it means you already know you have it. And in the air element, air is the element of intellect, of intelligence, of communication. And you have 2 air element cards. Like going into your early childhood, the divine connection card represented by the gem amethyst, that's also an air element energy. So what that means is you have the gift for gab. Like you could be telling this reading that I'm telling you right now. Like you could be telling me all the same things I'm telling you, and you would be so articulate in your expression. You could teach anything. Once you learn something, you have the fluid capacity to explain it to others in a way that they'll understand. You're very articulate. When we see 2 air energy cards, both upright in the past and the present, that shows that you've already started using that gift. The divine connection, your ability to connect with source, to connect with spirit, to connect with your guides, and to communicate it externally means that you're not as shy as some of us might be to open up about the connections that you hold. And when that's moving into magic, I wouldn't be surprised if you're also drawn into being an influencer, having a blog, having a vlog where you share on YouTube, being very public about your beliefs, whether these beliefs are spiritual or political or environmental or scientific. I don't want to get thwarted by the idea of magic being just a mystical thing. What I'm saying is, like, your intellectual ability is such that whatever subject you dedicate yourself to, you will master. You could really excel in academics if you're inspired by the subject. But when you are inspired by something and focused on something, you excel. Like, people notice that you would be the topper in the class. What we see this moving towards in the future is the fire element card of the will, represented by the stone malachite. What's really cool here is that you have the cosmos as a whole, represented by the starry night sky at the center of the Labradorite card. You have divine feminine energy, represented by this goddess emerging from the lotus that is that amethyst cluster. And you have the divine masculine energy, represented by this pharaonic archetype seated on the malachite throne. When you have existence in its pure form and divine feminine, and moving into awakening your divine masculine also, it shows that your inner energies are powerfully balancing. Until now, you've had more of the intuitive, intellectual side awakened, where you've been able to understand who you are, manifest what you want, study, hone your skill. What you're moving into in the future, if you continue on this trajectory, is the firepower to lead others with it. So for example, the air energy of intellect can represent an academic career, being a student, getting a PhD, teaching, becoming a professor, even reaching the highest peak and starting your own school. But this energy of will shows starting a whole society. Like, instead of opening a school district. Instead of teaching a meditation class, opening a meditation studio. Pardon my neighbor outside having their car alarm go off. That's annoying, but it's also really honing into the fact that this is a powerful, explosive energy time for you, whoever chose pile 3. I'm just gonna stop this and start it when the car horn stops. Okay, and we're back. Sorry for that brief interruption. Like I said, somebody's car alarm was going off out there. But as you move into this will energy, it's not just opening a school. It's like starting a new education movement. You're beyond just teaching the curriculum as dictated by your predecessors. Like, you want to revitalize what it is that you're teaching, what it is that you're sharing. It's like mastering your field and then blazing a new trail. The fire energy is the powerful creative energy that sees what exists and makes it into something even better. Fire is that spontaneity energy, like the very first message, part of your first message that jumped out. When we see that much fire in somebody's reading, like 2 out of the 5 cards, it really shows that you are a creator, you're a mover, you're a shaker, you're a leader. You would never be happy in life just following orders, towing the line, fitting in, obeying. Like, you're meant to be leading, you're meant to be commanding. Now, because this will energy, this leadership, pharaoh energy is in the future, that's something being awakened in you now. And again, this spontaneity, this playfulness is the key to awaken it. So it's not time to sit on your throne just yet. It's time to be a team player, to go out and have fun with others, to interact with your friends. Find out what people really want. And once you know what people want, you'll have a clear path revealed to you of how to make it into a reality. And then you would be well equipped to guide others into experiencing it. That's all really generic. Let me give you a specific example. Say that your air energy was inspired towards studying, we'll say, paleontology. And so you're interested in learning all about the history of the different time periods of ancient Earth. You like fossils, you like, dinosaur bones. You like seeing ice core samples from the Arctic and finding out when volcanoes exploded tens of thousands or millions of years ago. Say that's your field of study. What you've already done is learned everything you can possibly learn, read all the experts' books, taken the classes, studied it. What you're feeling now is that this magic is awakening in you, where you know you've seen something through to its peak, but you know there's still more. And you also understand that you're the one capable of manifesting that more. Now it's time to start sharing your ideas with others, talking to people who maybe aren't even experts in your field, to find out what's their level of interest in it. What do they maybe want to know? The general public might not have studied paleontology, but they can tell a paleontologist, hey, I want to know more about Neanderthals, or I want to know more about the T-Rex, about this dinosaur, or that meteoric impact, or that crater. That's the kind of playfulness I mean, like the playfulness to go beyond your regular regimented academic field and see the fun that your study sparks in people who are newly learning about it. Again, I'm sorry if this is coming across really generalized, but the download of information coming to me for you, I'm not saying you're a paleontologist. Maybe one of you is. That would be super awesome. Let me know in the comments. But what I'm saying is, you have dedicated your life to studying something. In a lot of the ways you've studied it, it's been a little bit dry and academic because the field is seen as finite. People think they've already found out as much as they can find out about it. But by being playful, going out in the field, talking to others, seeing the passion people who are new to the subject have in a way that people who have been teaching it for decades have lost, that's the spontaneity that awakens the higher magic to launch into a whole new aspect of this field. To give another example, fiction writing. Like when people write novels and it feels like the archetype for the protagonist and the antagonist and the support characters, it's all been formulaically laid out by every writer in the history of literature. Sometimes a person who wants to be a great writer has to turn away from great literature for a while and just live life to get inspiration for their next story. And then when it lands, they become a leader in the field. Their next book becomes a new genre. Not just a new book within a genre, but a genre of its own. So that's what I'm feeling for you as a life path. You're not here to do what's been done in the way it's always been done. You could do that. That would be easy for you. But you're here to take what's been done, learn it fully, learn it completely, master it, and then create something entirely new using the perspective you gain through living life with fun, with creativity, with spontaneity, and with passion. The one reversed card that you have is a storm element card of illumination, represented by the gem Saracite. And when that's reversed, it is showing that the one area that you haven't completely mastered is the area of meditation, of spirituality, of divination. You might dabble in mysticism, but if the pendulum doesn't give you a clear answer, you think, oh, I guess I'm not doing this right, or it doesn't work for me, and you move on. You might sit to meditate, and one day you have a powerful vision. The next day when you sit to meditate, nothing happens, so you feel I've lost it, I don't have it, doesn't work for you. Because academically, when you study, you succeed so easily. You can find it a little bit frustrating when the work you put in doesn't automatically pay off in the spiritual realm quite the same way. Because when it comes to, for example, if you diet and exercise, your body will lose weight. If you light a candle, it will burn. If you turn on the faucet, water will come out. But when you sit to meditate, you don't automatically become enlightened. When you put your energy into your third eye, you don't automatically start seeing mystical visions. That magic, it's there in you. At this point in time, you're aware of the fact that it's there in you, but you do sometimes get frustrated if it doesn't just automatically happen on the first try. So what the illumination card in the reverse aspect is showing you is keep doing it, even if you don't automatically see results. Try it differently, but don't stop trying it. The magic that's already happening, the repeat numbers that you're seeing, the synchronicities that you're seeing, the things that you're manifesting, those are like road signs showing you that you're on the right track. You're coming into it. You're getting into this power position that you're meant to be in. But the key to unlocking that for you is the illumination. So again, going beyond just the intellect and the fiery creativity and surrendering to your higher spiritual capacity. That's going to be the breakthrough for you, is the spiritual. Now, the two energies we don't see present in your reading are earth and water. We've got 2 fire cards, 2 air cards, 1 card of spirit. But when we're missing the water element, that means one area that has presented a challenge is the area of emotion. It can be difficult for you sometimes to understand your own emotions, to grasp what it is that you're feeling, to emotionally connect with other people and understand why they feel what they feel. Somebody might say, like, you are blank. You are frustrating me. You're making me mad. You're making me happy. You're making me fall in love with you. You're making me this. You're making me that. And you won't be able to understand, why are they feeling that way? I'm just being me. When that water element is not present, Even though you are a great orator, a great communicator, that air energy means you can express your ideas. You do have a bit of a block when it comes to expressing your feelings. And so you will be powerfully drawn to the water. You will love walking by a lake, floating down a river, putting your feet into the beach, feeling the waves crash on your ankles. Like, you will be so drawn to the water because when you surround yourself with water, you are in the element that's missing from the cards, especially at this point in your life. Like, don't get me wrong, this is a general reading, not the one-on-one personal reading where I go into all 6 of your elemental cards. So maybe if this was your individual reading, there would be a water and an earth card there. But for right now, at this point in your life, like, you might find yourself craving to be around the water. And if you crave it, do it. Like, if you can get to a beach, a lake, a river, a stream, and put your feet in that water, even a swimming pool, like, do it, because that's going to really help you unlock that emotional expression and the emotional relation to others. If you can't get to a natural body of water or a pool, at the very least, like, fill a bathtub and take a nice soak. Drink a lot of water. Like, just pour a bucket of water over your head if it's a hot day. Just let that water energy fulfill you, and get outside as much as possible. We do see some outside energy in the spontaneity card, but this is still a fire element card. It's not actually an earth element card. So your soul is craving for you to get into nature. Go for a hike, go for a long walk, feel the grass between your toes, get your hands into the dirt a little bit. Like, just get outside. Like, the ideal day for you right now to incorporate both the water and the earth energy is to hike somewhere that leads to water. You know, whether that means walking down a beach trail and getting to the ocean and going for a swim, or whether that means going on a mountain trail that leads to a stream. Find a way to get into nature and into water. Once that emotion and the earthy practicality balance, everything else will become easier. When earth element is not present, you can be a little messy. And that means it's not as fun for you. You're not like a Monica Geller on Friends where your happy place is disinfecting the kitchen sink. Like, you're the kind of person who wishes cleaning didn't even have to be done. Like, why can't that just be automated? You might not enjoy straightening up your living room, or you love to crack the books and read, but you don't always want to put them away again. That's the earth energy not being here. Like, the more we ground ourselves and become earthy and practical, the more we'll be able to do the physical tasks, the labor that needs to be done to make living more comfortable and more fluid. Because you have lots of fire, you are quick with the creative ideas, the creative solutions. You're great when it comes to innovating. You're great when it comes to intellectually understanding. But people might tell you that you're not practical. Like, you need a more practical plan. Like, yes, you've got these great ideas, but how are you going to implement them? How are you going to get the resources? How are you going to get the team ready? How are you going to lay the groundwork? So the more you get outside and physically ground yourself, the more you'll be able to take these amazing ideas that you have and these innovations that you have and actually get them into production. So when it comes to your talents, you'd be a great teacher, a great academic, a great philosopher, like anything that has to do with the mind. You would be wonderful at a writer, a speaker, a public speaker, an actor. Like, you have lots of creative talent as well with the fire energy. So again, actor, performer, musician, singer, songwriter. If you can tap into the water energy of the emotions, people will connect with your passion and your creative drive even more profoundly. And if you can tap in and balance that earth energy, you won't mind the hard work that it takes to get there. Like, you won't mind the driving on tour, or, you know, physically putting things into place, making the phone calls and planning the gigs and all that. As of now, if I just look at your energy cards, if you had a manager and a team ready to drive you around, book your appointments, and clean up after you, you could be a superstar. But you have to kind of be your own team as well. You have to also do some of that grunt work. That's part of being a person. And I feel like this reversed card of illumination will rectify itself, and you'll have that breakthrough when you do the work of meditating, do the work of looking in and recognizing your emotions and expressing them, and do the work of grounding and getting practical, cleaning up your place, cleaning up your diet, cleaning up yourself, cleaning up your energy. So yeah, you are a very smart, very talented person. I don't even need to tell you what you need to do. I feel, based on the cards I'm seeing, you already know all this. This reading is probably just a reminder and a confirmation that yes, you are meant to be a leader. You are an innovator. You are not going to just follow the structure that's already been laid out. You are going to innovate and invent and bless the whole world with this powerful energy that you have to push the field that you choose to the next level, whatever that field might be. So more power to you. And you know what? Even if you don't get into nature, jump in the water, even still, you'll be successful. It's just a matter of how quickly that magic is going to express and reach the world. You've already got it within yourself. It's just, if you want it to be even more profoundly in the world around you, earth and water hold that key. But wow, Labradorite, I would say, is your stone. Like, if you ever wonder, I'm even wearing Labradorite today. I hardly ever wear this ring, but I'm in a Labradorite mood. As your totem stone of this moment, just when you see Labradorite, remember that you are magical. You have this inner magic. You are creating something in the world that has never existed before. Trust your divine connection and your intuition, and you will become a great leader. That's all there is to it. You, Pile 3, are a great leader. I would love to know what you're working on, what you're innovating, what you've studied, and how you're going to take it to the next level, what kind of a team you're building. Very curious. If you feel like sharing, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, just rock on and enjoy your life. In a personal reading, I do go a little more in depth than just this. I look at 6 cards, outer world and inner world. But for now, I think this is a great place to leave it. If you want to know more about your unique energy instead of just the group energy that you're a part of here, you can hit me up on Wizio. I'd love to give you a private reading. But for now, thank you so much for tuning in. Much love, and we'll see you in the next video.